This is the put up or shut up game for Colorado. The 19th ranked Buffaloes face their toughest test of the season as they travel to Eugene to take on number 10 Oregon. So can Colorado continue this magical run under Deion Sanders, or will Oregon derail the hype train? That is the question that we're going to answer today. So welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, guys. We're so glad that you could join us today. As always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below, including our expert picks over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. We have beat out over 80% of the national handicappers each of the last 5 years. Every single year, each of the last 5 years, beating out over 80% of the national analysts, hitting over 62% of our bets last year, hitting over 67% on our best bet section this year. So if you want guaranteed winnings, the best customer service any handicapper can give you, this is the place for you. Go sign up today for that full year-long subscription. Check out our Patreon account as well and send us some gear to that mailing address down in the description below. We'd love to get some more Pac-12 gear. Love to get Colorado, Oregon, whoever your team may be, so we can represent them in every single Gridiron Expert video. Let's take a look at this game, guys. Colorado, Oregon, number 19 versus number 10. If you had told any of us about a month ago that Oregon and Colorado would be a top 20 matchup, 2:30 game on September 23rd, I think a lot of people would have laughed at you. They say Oregon top 10, sure. Colorado top 20, not a chance. And yet here the Buffaloes are. It's been a remarkable story and a remarkable turnaround under Deion Sanders. And you take a look at the reason for Colorado's success. There's a whole lot of different reasons, but a major one is their offense. Their offense has been unbelievable, one of the best, not just in the Pac-12, but in the entire country. They're averaging 479 yards per game, but the kicker to that is that 418 of those 479 are through the air. The Buffaloes are averaging 418 passing yards per game, led by Shedeur Sanders, who's already thrown for over 1,200 yards. 1,200 yards, 10 touchdowns to just one interception, and has been insanely accurate with the ball, completing over 78% of his passes. This guy is a future NFL quarterback, and he has shown it this year. He showed it during his time at Jackson State. He's showing it now in Boulder as well. This is a Colorado team that wants to play fast. They're extremely physical. They're extremely electric. Shedeur Sanders leading the way. 6 players with over 100 receiving yards this season, but they will miss one of their top players in Travis Hunter, who is not just a key player at wide receiver, but is also a key player on defense at cornerback. So losing a big-time two-way player in Travis Hunter, who took a brutal hit against Colorado State, and unfortunately will be missing the next few weeks. But they still have Xavier Weaver, who leads the team with 386 yards and 2 touchdowns. They've got Jimmy Horn Jr. This is a team that offensively can match Oregon's speed and electricity. They can match Oregon offensively step for step, averaging over 41 points per game. Great quarterback, accurate quarterback, speed on the outside. They might not be dangerous running the ball, but they can match Oregon and Bo Nix. And that's what we get to now. The Ducks, led by Bo Nix, have been phenomenal, not just this year, but last year as well. Nix so far this year, 893 yards, 8 touchdowns through the air, leading an offense that's averaging over 580 yards per game. They're averaging nearly 600 yards per game this year, but should be noted that the schedule's been pretty weak with the exception of that road win at Texas Tech. They played Portland State, they dropped 81 points, and then played Hawaii last week and won that game by 35-45, somewhere around there. They're averaging 358 passing yards per game behind Bo Nix. They're averaging 229 rushing yards per game. And that's where Oregon and Colorado differ, right? You look at the Buffaloes, how good they've been offensively, how great Shedeur Sanders has been, but the run game is non-existent. The running game is non-existent. The offensive line really isn't all that great for the Buffaloes, and we'll touch on that in a second. Oregon's got that balance. You know Bo Nix can beat you through the air, and you know they can beat you on the ground as well. You got a guy like Bucky Irving, over 200 rushing yards already on the year with 3 touchdowns. Jordan James, over 150 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns. And then Noah Whittington as well. On the outside, at wide receiver, they've got a guy like Troy Franklin, who has nearly 300 reception yards and 3 touchdowns on the year. So when you look at this, from an offensive standpoint, you got to make the argument that Oregon does own the offensive edge over Colorado simply due to balance alone. This is an Oregon team that's averaging 58 points per game that was able to go on the road to Lubbock and beat Texas Tech. And again, it's one of those things where if Colorado's defense shows up and shows out and shuts down Bo Nix, that's okay because the Ducks can then pound them up front on the ground. Oregon's got that balance, that ability to be multidimensional. Colorado does not. It's Shedeur Sanders in the passing game or nothing. And when you take a look at the defense, Colorado's defense really is struggling. And Deion Sanders will tell you that. What do you say? They were hot garbage. They're playing terrible through the first 3 weeks, yet they're still 3-0. And this is still a team, guys, that defensively, has shown improvement from last year where they were giving up over 500 yards per game. But so far this year, they're only giving up 460 yards per game. So they've seen about a 40, 50-yard improvement through 3 games. They're giving up over 265 through the air, 195 on the ground, and that's your key number. There's 2 key numbers I'm looking at, but the first one is the rushing numbers. Colorado is struggling mightily to stop opposing run games. Just go look at the first 2 weeks. They allowed 262 rushing yards to TCU, and I believe that if TCU hadn't gotten cute and had just continued to pound the rock where they were averaging over 7 yards per carry, they probably would have beat Colorado. 262 yards they allowed against the Horned Frogs. Then they allowed 222 rushing yards to Nebraska the very next week. Nebraska just imploded, obviously. Colorado, to me, was never going to lose that game. I felt confident about that. But the amount of turnovers that Jeff Sims committed was obviously a huge reason why Colorado was able to pull away from that game after struggling for about the first quarter and a half. So, again, Colorado's got to find a way to slow down Oregon's run game, because if they cannot do that, Oregon will literally run wild. They will go crazy. Bo Nix will dominate through the air. The ground game will dominate. And honestly, it might be a day where if you're Oregon, you're Dan Lanning, you say, let Bo Nix take the day off. We still need him. He's going to have to make some plays. But if they can't stop the run, we're going to keep going until they prove to us that they can stop it. And obviously, they weren't able to do it against TCU. They weren't able to do it against Nebraska. And they did a little bit better against Colorado State, but got torched through the air against the Rams in that game, allowing over 390 passing yards in that one. So that's number one. That's the key number one. The other thing is Colorado's got to find a way to get off the field. So let's say they are doing a decent job of slowing down Oregon. They're doing a decent job of getting them to second and third and long situations. Find a way to get off the field, because Oregon does a phenomenal job on third down. So far this year, they're converting on nearly 53% of their third downs. So that is a very efficient Oregon offense, one that knows how to sustain drives, one that can go on a long 5-6 minute drive, or an offense that can score like that. So if you're Colorado and you find yourself an opportunity to get Shedeur Sanders back on the field, you've got to make sure it happens. Take a look at Oregon's defense. What are they going up against? This is obviously for Oregon, arguably the best offense they've seen all year. Texas Tech is certainly up there, and they were really, really good in Lubbock. Got a great passing attack on Tyler Shuck, but you look at what Shedeur Sanders and look at what Colorado's been doing. I think from a statistical standpoint, from an efficiency standpoint, especially through 3 weeks as compared to 1 week when Oregon played Texas Tech, this is maybe the best offense that Oregon has seen so far this season. They're giving up over 285 yards per game this year, 158 through the air, 127 on the ground. And again, you can go ahead and mark that number out, because I don't expect Colorado to come into Eugene and just immediately start running wild. I don't expect the run game to automatically find itself in this game against Oregon. And I think Deion Sanders knows that. I think everybody knows that if Colorado wants any chance of coming on the road and pulling off this upset, they're going to have to air it out over and over and over again. They're going to have to do it. Oregon's front seven is not going to allow Colorado to run. It's going to be Shedeur Sanders' show. He is going to have to get it done if they want to win this game, which is a great thing for Oregon. They can just kind of hone in on the pass. They don't have to stack the box. They don't really have to, load up front. Just say, hey, go ahead. We dare you to run, because you're not going to do it against us. Shedeur, you've got to win it all on your own. Here's the problem with that. Sanders has done a phenomenal job of taking care of the ball, completing over 78% of his passes, only 1 interception so far this year. This is an Oregon team that I think will continue to pressure Sanders all day long and force him into mistakes. Why? We said it earlier. Colorado's offensive line is terrible. Through 3 games, they've given up 16 sacks. They've allowed 16 sacks through 3 games. And Oregon's got a very physical front seven, a very physical defensive line. I think Sanders is going to be running for his life for the majority of the day on Saturday. Oregon held Texas Tech 282 passing yards in the game, forced 4 turnovers, 3 of which were interceptions. A lot of those were forced off some pressure. They do that to Sanders, he might double the amount of interceptions he's thrown this season. Only 1. Might throw 2 in this game. Who knows? But I do believe that's going to be the key for Oregon. Don't worry about the run. You're going to be fine there. If you pressure Shedeur Sanders and you hone in on the pass, you'll be just fine defensively, but you cannot sleep on them because they have a great speed on the outside. So ultimately, guys, what's going to happen in this game? You know, top 20 showdown, kind of the first, again, true test for Colorado. A game that Oregon, they're favored by 21 points, cannot afford to overlook. I think a lot of people, you know, if you're Oregon, you're like, oh, we'll beat Colorado. We've heard all this hype. You know, they haven't seen a team like us. We're going to blow them out of the water. And I'm sure TCU thought that. I'm sure Nebraska thought that. And look what happened. So you've got to be mindful of the Buffaloes. No one's sleeping on them, or at least they shouldn't be. No one can afford to overlook them. But at the end of the day, I feel very confident that Oregon will win this game rather handily. I think they will win this game in dominating fashion. I'm going to say by at least 14 points. There's a very good chance they could win it by 21 plus. Although I could see Colorado getting that backdoor cover in there, possibly, because of how great their offense is. This is a fun Colorado team. This is a solid Colorado team. This is a Colorado team that I do think goes bowling. But they're running into a completely different animal. A team that is a true college football playoff contender, that has one of the best and most experienced quarterbacks in the entire country. An offense that can match them and is better than them because of how balanced they are. And a home crowd that is one of the best in the entire country as well. It's going to be a very, very tough environment for Colorado to go into without one of their best players in Travis Hunter. Oregon wins this game in dominating fashion, owning the edge in every single aspect of this game, including home field advantage and including coaching. The Ducks get a win. They make a bit of a statement. They derail the hype train for a little bit, although Colorado can get right back on the wagon, can get right back on track if they can beat USC next week. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and of course, check out everything down in the description below, including our expert picks over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. Again, we have beat out over 80% of the national handicappers each of the last 5 years, and we can guarantee you a winning record and big-time winnings. Go check it out today. Again, the link down in the description, as well as our Patreon account and our mailing address to send us some of your team's gear to be featured in every single video. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.